Great. Thank you. And as Carolyn mentioned, thank you all for joining this session. I think we'll probably have a few people jumping in here in the next few minutes, but we have a lot to go over, so I want to make sure we have enough time to cover as much material for everyone as possible. So just as an agenda level setting, this is a Snowflake Intelligence, Snowflake AI focused workshop that we are going to be demonstrating for you in a few different use cases. The agenda for today will give a brief introduction and go over Snowflake Intelligence as a whole and the suite of services that encompass Snowflake AI capabilities. And then we're going to jump into a few specific use cases and kind of a crawl, walk, run approach. But in case you don't know me, and I don't know a few of you here on the call, I am Greg Spencer. I'm the Director of Financial Services here at Passerelle. And the person who is most important as part of this call that you're going to want to hear from is my colleague here, Jeremy Diago, who's our Director of AI Strategy and is leading our AI initiatives here at Passerelle. So with that, Jeremy, if you want to take the next slide. Yeah, so just a brief introduction, who we are, what we do, and why we're here. Passerelle, we are a data technology consultancy, a systems integrator through the lens of Snowflake. We're a trusted Snowflake partner. We have end-to-end capabilities and expertise in the data stack from ingestion, integration, data modeling, data architecture, with governance as a huge piece of that, all the way through traditional BI reporting, analytics, and now obviously more innovative technologies and capabilities and advancements, especially in AI and generative AI. Through our conversation with our partners at Snowflake, and obviously everything that we hear and see in the market, I won't belabor you as it pertains to the promise of AI and what it can and can't do and how it should be positioned within your own internal organizations and your cultures. But what we do know is that there is at least a little bit of a hurdle, or what we've heard anyways, a little bit of a hurdle to kind of get going and assign value and approaches to different components of AI. And that's really why we're here. We're here to try and help demystify how to get value and demonstrate some ROI by leveraging Snowflake's intelligence and AI capabilities within your four walls, and give you some specific examples along those, because we know that, again, at least if you hear it in the press, there's a lot of not concern, but kind of consternation around proof of values, proof of concepts, and how to get going and starting projects and seeing them all the way through to the end. So with that, we're going to take some bite-sized approaches to use cases that hopefully may resonate, for you within your institution in a crawl, walk, run approach, kind of go through specific services within the Snowflake Intelligence suite. So with that, however, we are making some assumptions. So just from a housekeeping standpoint, we've got a mix of attendees here on the call that run the gamut from having deep Snowflake expertise and Snowflake environments to some that are more either not currently using Snowflake or are brand new to the platform. So we're not going to kind of do from scratch, right? How do you bring data into the platform, all the way through to using AI? We're going to be making some assumptions, especially as it pertains to data ingestion and data landing, and both structured and unstructured data, that you've got data within Snowflake. Jeremy will inevitably kind of touch on some of those pieces and different ways in which that can be achieved, but we're not going to spend time kind of showcasing you how to bring a PDF into Snowflake. We're going to make that as kind of one of the baseline assumptions. So Jeremy, if you want to jump to the next. So I'm going to turn it over to my friend here, Jeremy, to take it from here for the next few slides.
Nice to meet you all. So I'll start. Thanks, Greg, for the introduction. So I'll start here giving you an overview of the Snowflake Cortex AI and ML features. So what does Snowflake offers in terms of feature for generative AI, which is more in the umbrella of Cortex, and ML also, and then we'll go through the three example of crawl, walk, run that we have prepared. So the first thing to say is everything you're going to see in this presentation, all the demo, all the data, all the AI models, everything is running on Snowflake premises, on Snowflake environments. So there is nothing going outside. So you can see here a list of models, for example, that are offered in the Snowflake environment. And you can see OpenAI, Anthropic. So those are frontier labs, private labs, right? but all the models are running inside a Snowflake dedicated cloud. So there is no data when you use some of those features going out of the Snowflake and like hitting a server in, for example, OpenAI premises or things like this. So you have access to a lot of models for frontier models, Anthropic Sonnet, so OpenAI GPT-5, for example. You have also like a bunch of models from open source community and from Snowflake themselves. And all those models and features are you inherit basically the security and governance layer that you have built. So if you're already a Snowflake customer, you might have built like some good security and governance practices. You have role-based access control, some guardrails, monitoring, observability, and so on. So like, especially in terms of role-based controls and security and masking policies and so on. So those features will leverage those governance. So the first thing is the one of the key brick that Snowflake built is a list of features called AI SQL. They are powered by AI models, and they're basically allowing you to do some, for example, complete, so asking a question, getting an answer. And all those are, you're able to call them with a simple SQL command. So you can do translation, classification, you can do summarization. A lot of features are built like this, and they are easily integrated. So you can integrate it easily in some existing data pipeline, for example. The three big AI Cortex features that we're actually going to demonstrate later are the Cortex Search, Cortex Analyst, and the bunch of document processing features. So the first one is Cortex Search, which allows you to do an hybrid of semantic search and the keyword search, like on unstructured data. So let's say you have document policies stored somewhere. You can actually do index those in Cortex Search for easily retrieve them and do search on them. Cortex Analyst will be more of a feature to use on structured data, so in data warehouse, like data models, for example, that you might have in Snowflake, and will be a feature that you can ask a natural language question, and based on the semantic model, we'll see that later, you can get a SQL query out of it. And you have some document processing features, especially Document AI, where you can extract structured data from unstructured documents. So here, think PDF like forms and mortgage application, for example, that you can build a pipeline and use Document AI pre-trained models to extract that data. Is there any questions so far? So I'll touch on the all those features were more built on top of like what you call generative AI models, right? So like your GPT models and so on. Those are Snowflake ML. So Snowflake also offers to do more kind of traditional machine learning, classification, regression, and so on, everything within Snowflake. So if you don't know, like you have specialized warehouses, which is the compute that you can use in Snowflake, and they have some ML optimized compute with more resource, more memory, and so on. And they offer a variety of features to actually build, train, and deploy all those models within Snowflake. So yeah, on that, we will start demonstrating the three use cases. So the crawl will be Document AI, the walk will be Cortex Search, and the run will be a mix of Cortex Agents, Snowflake Intelligence, and using actually those tools, Document AI, Search, and Analyst.
Jeremy, yeah. So first use case that Jeremy's going to dive into, what we've done what we're going to be showing you is how to use Document AI to extract a particular pertinent piece of information within a mortgage application PDF. So not knowing how far along you are from an ETL, ELT pipeline and being able to ingest information from your mortgage loan origination system, we do know that there are a number of institutions that still have access or still are processing either digitally filled out forms or even manually filled out forms on mortgage applications. And specific to the data point that we're going to be targeting is looking at assets that borrowers and co-borrowers are filling out as part of the mortgage application process, which have a halo opportunity for you to be able to use and leverage, or your marketers to be able to use and leverage in targeting those applicants or potential or customers who did get a mortgage with you for additional deposit acquisition efforts. So you can also look at this through the lens of you have a data point that is either not currently being brought in as part of a structured ETL pipeline on some type of digitized form that you have that you want to be able to take out and be able to do some type of segmentation or analysis on. Document AI could do that as well for your statements of financial condition for your businesses, insurance documents, tax returns. There are a lot of use cases for this above and beyond just the one we're going to be able to demonstrate. So go ahead, Jeremy.
Thanks, Greg. So I'll run it for each call walk, run a couple of slides and then show you a demo. So the first thing is Document AI, as I mentioned previously, and as Greg mentioned also, like Document AI is basically kind of an intelligent, it's a pre-trained model, so an intelligent reader to help extract data from either PDFs, images, so you can also process pictures and tables, and basically can do also like OCR, so like if you had handwritten text, and it's pre-trained on a lot of documents, so you don't have to start from scratch. So here we'll demonstrate, for example, on loan application, and for you to then extract that data, structure it, and then you can use it for downstream processing. So usually the steps are collect and stage document. So as Greg mentioned previously, there are various ways to ingest data in Snowflake, and that's something we can discuss later if you're interested. Validate the predefined model, so like the model that out of the box that Document AI and Snowflake provides, and fine-tune it on your own data. So it's about to improve the accuracy and retrieve exactly the information you need. So build and run the extraction pipeline. So then once you have like how to use basically and call and do the inference on that model to use that, run the extraction process, and then using for downstream processing and automate that scale. So the demo I'm going to show you is like more of a manual demo where I show you like how to load and ingest a file in one of the Snowflake UI in Streamlit, and then you will see it processing the document. But like this system will be like usually like automated in the background, so you'll have a data processing running, the data process running. So usually the challenges are, of course, variable document quality and layout, right? Ensuring high confidence extraction score. So that will be like the iterative process of fine-tuning the model, testing it, making sure we have good data, good like documents, so you can have some pre-processing of those documents that can happen. Human in the loop workflow for exception. So you will have also like an OCR score about the quality, the probability of the output being good. And so you can take action also on that. You also have like out of the box some SQL functions to extract and parse documents. So there are always various ways that you can call and use those systems in Snowflake. So here like a simple diagrams, I show you like you can ingest PDF, Word documents. So you have a process, an ingestion process to land it into a stage, basically a location in that Snowflake has access to, either internal or external stage. You have the pre-processing pipeline using Document AI, doing some validation based on the result, right? So do you want to directly send that to a structured table, or do you want to have a process with the data steward to have the human in the loop analysis, and then use it in a downstream in some application for other processes. So from that, let me show you actually a demo. So actually, an example of the document. Let me just refer the page just in case before, and an example of the document, one of the document that we're working with. So here, when we say unstructured data for Document AI, so we want to be able. So you see those mortgage loan application. We want to be able to extract that information for us to use to structure that data and for use to using downstream processing. So we have like the name, for example, date of birth, on phone. So we have some information about addresses. And you can see this is a multi-page document. So we also have actually somewhere here like the total monthly income, We also have, if we go down, some the assets, right, that might be mentioned. So that's like kind of an interesting information that we might want to extract. So this, for example, here in the model that we've built, so you can see like we extract some value. So that's what you see here, 25 is we have actually fine-tuned the model on 25 documents. So the pre-built model at the lower accuracy. What we did, we added a few of examples. We went through in the UI through the example, and we said, okay, I want you to retrieve that kind of information. It's located there and there. And with you can then rebuild the model pretty easily and then give you a higher accuracy. And so those are the documents that we used. And you can see the information we're retrieving. So here we're retrieving from the PDF the name of the applicant, birth date, total income, the zip code, and some information about the asset that we thought, I think it was in page 3, the account type, financial institution, and the amount. So let me show you here, for example, so it's a simple UI, runs on Streamlit, runs basically in Snowflake, and that allows you to build some data app in Snowflake. And for example, here we show, so we already have process for documents. And let's say like I drag and drop like here in another file, so application 5, what will happen? So here like the file will be sent into remember the stage, the location that Snowflake has access to. We'll run the processing with Document AI, so the model that we have, and the output will be basically the output, all the different values that we want to extract with some score, and then we can do we can use that then, as you will see like in a couple of seconds, you will see that how we can use it. So I'm going to show just in a second. So and yes, so you can see, for example, the applicant here, the applicant birth date. So you can see like how it was retrieved, and just a few seconds it will happen. And yeah, so basically like here you see that like in an interface. So usually what we do and what we have done, for example, for the customers, is to build kind of an automated process. So when a file is dropped into a location that Snowflake has access to, the processing pipeline can detect automatically. And here I don't know why it's taking so long. Usually it's pretty fast. Let me just refresh. An automated process can run and pick up the file, and will basically process it, call the Document AI, which you can call either from REST or from SQL, and it will then run the extraction, and then from that basically extract the information, and will give you like the score and so on, so that if you want to have human in the loop based on some thresholds, right, you can get the information. Let's give it a couple of seconds. The joy of live demo. But basically, you get the idea. Do you have any question on that?
Hey, Jeremy, if this keeps going, we just skip this.
Oh yeah, no, just to show you like
it goes.
And so actually one thing, so like about like automated and scalability. So here I'm actually using a small warehouse. And so that's one of the things that you can use. I'm actually running it for one file on a small warehouse. So you can increase the size of those warehouses depending on your load. And you can also actually do the inference on the document like in parallel to optimize it. So there are a lot of ways to optimize it. So you can see actually like the values, the score that were extracted, and like the probability of the kind of the quality output. And so you can see like here we have actually structured the data, and then you can use it, for example, to like have a narrative or whatever, send it, into other like AI system to do more processing. So from that, we will go to the, yeah, Greg.
So what Jeremy just demonstrated, right, is being able to take out those data points from those unstructured documents and put them into a structured format, so that one, you can start to kick off either internal processes or analyses around those data points if you're not currently already capturing them. In this instance, again, it was income and assets held elsewhere from your mortgage applicants that could be used for, again, for direct outreach as well as deposit acquisition efforts. So in this kind of realm of how would you actually approach demonstrating and showing value creation and ROI from leveraging this particular service within the Snowflake suite of Snowflake Intelligence. Look at this as a way to extract brand new information that you may not be having or easily get to without some type of manual effort for the purposes of growth and or other operational efficiency improvements, as well as other ways to show efficiency, whether you are currently doing and having some type of process where you're doing some type of manual reconciliation or data entry off of unstructured documents, which will ultimately give you not just time saved, but also fewer errors, less of a human in the loop as it pertains to manual entry, but being able to keep a human in the loop from being able to be able to kind of validate that responses are produced accurately and as part of a bulk effort for extraction of those data points. So next, we're going to actually show you Cortex Search. So while that with Document AI was parsing and extracting out particular pieces of information and putting it into a structured format, Cortex Search is going to give you a different type of functionality around being able to leverage and get insights from a variety of unstructured files. So in this instance, we're going to be showing you, a number of different, bank policies that a staff member may have to cull through or search through in order to find a particular data point for how to process a particular transaction or validate that they're currently doing things the right way as part of your standard operating procedures. So again, the idea is to give your end users, your stakeholders, better transparency and confidence in being able to leverage and ensure that they're making their work effort in accordance with company policy, as well as saving them time in order to find the answers that they're looking for.
So yes, basically Cortex Search, it's kind of a private, secure semantic search and keyword search on top of your document. So everything in Snowflake. And so you can use it, as Greg mentioned, to do search within a lot of contracts and policy documents. So here we're using like banking deposit closing policies and opening policies in the demo that you'll see. So usually same steps are for the Document AI, previously collect and stage not only document and metadata about those documents, because when we want to search within the document, not only we want to know like where the information is in which document, but also maybe the page, the paragraph, is the information actually inside like a picture, a table, in which location, and so on. So here, like the processing pipeline will be a bit more involved, because like to load the information from those documents in the Cortex Search service, we'll need to extract the information, so detect information from those documents and parse it and chunk it. So basically like in small pieces, so that the Cortex Search can embed them and create an index on them. And basically there is like various strategies to do that. So then create and configure the search service and integrate into apps and workflow. Same challenges around the variable document quality and layout, optimizing retrieval accuracy. So as I mentioned, chunking strategies, we do hand in hand into the relevance tuning and evaluation. So always this iterative process involving business users and so on. So to do evaluation and tuning of the system, and especially also control and permissions, right? So you want to give access, do a search on the documents that the user might have access to, and not something he shouldn't get access, right? Yeah, so example, so kind of the similar initial ingestion, the pre-processing will be like parsing, chunking, embedding, and you'll see an automated pipeline usually built in Snowflake for that using Cortex Search, and then you can actually then use Cortex Search. So the search service will get you like this, like different results, like actually multiple results as to like where the information you're asking is in which document with the metadata of those documents. So then with that, you can send that information and use this as a tool, as we'll show you later. For example, an agentic system or an application, workflow, and so on. So for that, let me show you. So for example, here we are working with the those kind of documents. So deposit account policy document, which list some requirements, different sections. So for first one, for example, customer identification program and so on, beneficial ownership identification. We also have those closing policies. So some like a lot of different policies around closing accounts, so what to do at time of closure and so on. And the Cortex Search service, so it's also a service that can be almost in like configure almost in real time. So like you can have a process that reads the document, and so your pipeline will send that information, create in a table, and then from that you can see a target lag. So maybe you want your Cortex Search service to be updated once a day, once every 5 minutes, based on the document or updated document that you have in your bank of documents. So that's something that you can all configure here in the search service. And an example here that maybe I just refreshed it, so make sure it's not timed out. So like the again another Streamlit UI that we like quickly build in Snowflake, and that you can actually run and share in Snowflake. So here, like the question was, okay, when must CPI be completed for business accounts? And you can see the result. Here, I'm actually selecting like the top 4 result. Is like, okay, the result is actually in this document, in this opening policy document, and in the CPI, which is the customer identification program, section 1. And I get, so you see like in page 2, I get also other mention also on CPI on page 5 and so on. So that's where like with the metadata that you send it, you can really granularly give a lot of information. You can also see like where this information, so that will be exactly the information from the document that was parsed. And here what we do, like we take that result and we send it to another AI complete function to basically give me, so the question like here that we send is like, okay, give me a summary of those results based on the question we asked. And you can see like the summary will be, okay, the CPI must be completed at the time of account opening, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, for example, I can ask like another question. How long must we retain closure documentation? So you can see the result actually already updated. It was pretty fast. And now it's in the closing policy, right? Page 4. So you can see retain the account closure documentation for 5 years from the date of closure. We go so to the closing. So document, search for document. So you can see but basically it's written there, right? So that gives you an idea about how Cortex Search works. It's really like a search engine on top of your own document, Google on top of your own document. And there are various always methods, to configure and fine tune it, making sure you have the proper information surfacing to the user. Is there any question on that?
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, so from a way to look at the Snowflake Cortex Search is that elastic search on steroids, being able to give your end users, your staff members, the opportunity to quickly and reliably search for policy adherence or questions associated with those policies, find that answer without having to manually sift through, and try and find and locate the particular document or the point of interest that they're looking for. So if you're able to isolate this and look for first contact resolution rates that you may have internally, because again, this might not just be a back office use case. This could actually be translated directly to frontline for when they're trying to answer, or they've got a customer or a member on the line where they're trying to search for what they actually need to do, and they don't want to have to transfer the person, and they don't want to necessarily call their supervisor, and they don't want to waste time. So this is an example of whether it is policy documents or your enterprise risk documentation, your standard operating procedures, your governance policies. Again, depending on the use case and the persona that you're trying to appeal to, this has a number of ways that you can provide deeper efficiency for your organization by giving you the ability to search specifically for data points, summaries of data points within your policy and or other governance docs. So our last demo,
we do have one question that just came through the chat, and that is whether we can integrate searches via a CRM. Can be predefined.
So usually most of those features, like the one that you will see, like Cortex Analyst, Cortex Agent, Cortex Search, you can actually call them through REST API. So you could actually build like an application or an extension somewhere outside of Snowflake that points to those features in Snowflake. And so yeah, there are various ways that you might want to be able to do it.
That's cool. Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, that was kind of my question, was like, well, this is great. We can get income levels, we can get, investable assets, but how can this be integrated into what our end users that are asking? Because we don't want to have them create a help desk ticket for our data team to provide different reporting. And so if there's a way through REST API to do that, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and we'll see, like, actually in this demo, like you can integrate also all those tools within the Snowflake agent, which is what Greg is gonna start talking about.
Thanks, Jeremy, and great question, John. So Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, even the Streamlit UI is going to be calling the Snowflake services via REST API. So you could put any front end that has the ability to consume those REST APIs on top of these services. Correct, Jeremy?
Yeah, you can either call them through REST API, through SQL function in Snowflake. So you're like yeah.
So your tool of choice, John, whether it is CRM or Teams or Slack, right, could be or again, your tool of choice could be the destination point in terms of being able to surface these insights. So great question. Yeah, so this last demo that we're going to show is kind of like the run, right? Like the more advanced use case is where and how you can start to build an agent or run agentic type of assistant level type of functionality, leveraging both those suites of search and analyst on top of your both structured and unstructured data. So in this instance, right, we're going to be able to see, now the power of not just being able to surface insights and answers and extraction of data from unstructured data. We're actually going to start with structured and have it demonstrate the ability to give you recommendations as well as visualizations, and ultimately be able to kind of cross-reference that data against unstructured data sources for compliance. So with that, Jeremy, I'll let you take it.
Thanks, Greg. So I'm going to talk quickly about the Snowflake agents, and we'll come back to that. And then I'm going to talk about the Cortex Analyst tool. The Snowflake agents is one of the latest feature of Snowflake, which enable the user to securely interact from structure, as Greg mentioned, and unstructured data using natural language. So it's an interface, kind of a ChatGPT interface. Actually, like it's a workflow orchestration of many tools. So the agents is an AI that, and you can, I'm sure you're familiar, for example, when you use ChatGPT, so you ask a question and then you get an answer. All those answers are coming from the AI training data, right? So, but for us, what do we want? We don't want we want to actually the answers to be baked and grounded into our data and our policies. And to do that, so an agent, you give it tools and it can take action into the environment. The environment here, for example, will be the Snowflake databases and policy document that you have, and get that feedback. So like the answer will be way more interesting and complete and match the expectation of the user. So that's what the agent is for. You give it instruction. So it's an AI that you can select. You can choose, you give it instruction, you can constraints, how to behave, how to answer, and then you give it tools. One of those tools is the Cortex Search that we just showed. It can be also like Cortex Document AI. It can be a Cortex Analyst, so the one that we're going to see, which is the ability to service to ask natural language question and get SQL queries on top of structured data like data warehouse. And you can also build custom tools, which is very important because those custom tools, you can basically in Snowflake, you can do pretty much what you want. So those are, for example, store proc of functions that you can create and give access to the agent. So here you can imagine writing even to Snowflake, writing to a table, communicating with an external system, triggering a workflow, sending an alert or notification, for example. Like this kind of platform gives you really like the flexibility to create the agents that you want for specific goals. So we saw like one of those tools is the Cortex Analyst, and that's what we're gonna show you. So Cortex Analyst, as I mentioned many times, so like the ability to ask natural language question and get SQL baked from a semantic model. And the semantic model is really key here. So the general steps is to curate govern data source. So there is dependency, right? So like you mentioned it actually in the challenges, depends on a well-modeled, clean, and trusted data foundation, right? So you really need to have a strong foundation, especially if you're in Snowflake, you need to trust your data. And on top of that, when you know what kind of first use case subject area to choose, so you will create a semantic model. Semantic model is basically a configuration that you create in that needs to be involved like technical users and business users, because it's the bridge between the technical details about the data implementation, like the data that you have in Snowflake, and how business user might call and might use that information. And that's where I'll show an example just after, actually. So test and iterate, integrate into apps, right? So in challenges, I put like semantic modeling effort and validation, because it's usually like an iterative process also. And that's where like the bulk of the work is, because the Cortex Analyst tool will give you answer as good as not only your data foundation is, but also the semantic model is. And there are various ways to improve that and work on that. And of course, the mapping banking terminology to data schema, kind of the same thing. So I won't go into too much detail into the how Cortex Analyst works, but basically when you ask a question, it enrich. There is a first layer of intent to analyze what is the intent of the question, enrich it with the semantic model to know exactly what the model has access to in terms of data, in terms of how to call those data. And you can see an example of the first few lines here of a semantic model, which is on top of a data warehouse for deposit accounts. And you can see here, we point, for example, to one of the table. You can see here, like in the dimension, we have an attribute customer name. But obviously, like this customer name, and actually, like in the data, it may be a cryptic name. So a customer name, a business user might call it a client, a customer, a holder. Same thing for state, right? It can be like province, location, depending. So that's where you will build the mapping and how you want the business user to interact with the data. And you can also put like more instruction specific, so like assumptions. You know, if you use, for example, actually, I'm going to talk about that when I'll show you the demo directly. I'm going to show you like the agent calling those tools on Snowflake Intelligence, which is Snowflake UI for exposing those agents and leveraging all the security feature of Snowflake. So let me do just that. So here is like you can actually create many agents, give them many tools, different tools. So you can create like more generic agents, a very specialized agent, depending on the tool you give them. So you can see here I'm giving it the banking assistant, description, instruction, some tools. Sorry, orchestration instruction, how to think about the tool, how to use them. And this is the Snowflake Intelligence UI. So when you land here, based on your access and permissions, you will have access to various different agents with different tools. You can either let the agent choose automatically what kind of tool to use based on the question, or specifically choose a tool. One saying that, for example, actually, let me try to run it. So here, like the Rocket Banking Assistant is on top, again, of banking data warehouse about deposit data. And so you can see, like, for example, I'm asking, okay, how many deposit account? How many deposit accounts were opened last week? So when I was mentioning in the semantic model, that's where you might want to build, or in the agent, like some assumptions, right? So here, what I told the agent to do is like for each question, not only answer it and highlight some insight, but also surface all the assumptions that the model and using the tools it took to get to that answer, and then based on the answer and the question, do propose some follow-up question. So you can see here, for example, we have like 157 new deposit account last week. So he understood that last week, because I've put it in the constraints and in the instruction, it starts from Saturday to Sunday and from the 10th to the 16th. So that's one of the assumption. Another assumption is I only want active accounts by default, unless told so. And also because we have a monthly end of month snapshot is the historical table. By default, I only want the latest snapshot. And then you can continue asking questions like with the model. You can actually see the thinking traces. What does the model here thinks, how it breaks down, in multiple part the question to better answer what kind of tool is going to use. And all those things you can actually, you have audit tables in Snowflake. You have audit and monitoring tables, so you can access them and see exactly, especially for this iterative process of improving the account, how the model took some, used the tools, took some decisions so that you can improve it. Here I'm asking like the breakdown of the accounts by branch, so you can see like he did it. The main one is the Main Street branch. So you can explore the data, download as a CSV, and so you would have some information. Let me switch to the same line of questioning I did earlier, so that don't have to wait for the answer, which is basically the same. And here you can see, so same thing, right? Analyzed by branch. After that, I ask, okay, is there like a more open-ended question, very, very wide, to see like what is the depth that this agent can go, and is there anything interesting about this new deposit account that might help me build deeper relationship with the owners. And if you actually look at the traces, it's interesting. He went to different areas to explore because he understands the kind of data that we're dealing with. So one area is the product types, open account balances, customer demographic, multi-product opportunity. So like you went very wide because we didn't like kind of very precisely told it to go in specific routes. So sorry. So the first thing, and he answers a bit like with dramatic emojis, but there are priority VIP accounts. So you can see like 26 customers, for example, have account with more than 400,000. So high value customers, list like some of those customers. So it went into like around a few queries, some of them for customer demographics, split by age, product performance, signals, right? So you can see like we didn't give it some constraints, so you really like launch a bunch of queries to give us some analytics and insights. Now, how do we in the same agent go? So this was more using like the Cortex analyst, right? So how now, like if I ask the question, how out of those deposit accounts, is there any that don't comply with the section 1 of our policy? You remember like the Cortex Search tool that I showed you earlier? We have policies about closing and opening clauses. So how can the agent make the link between those? Because he has access to those tools, so he can run queries and get directly the information from those documents. And it doesn't have to make up the policy because we gave it access to them. So here, again, a bit dramatic, but yes. So among the 157 accounts, 15 of them actually are non-compliant with the CIP policy, right? Section 1 is actually the CPI. Oh, this one. Anyway, is the CPI policy. Oh, sorry about that. So it gives us the list of accounts. Top violation. There are a few actually requirements in this policy. Gives us the okay, like what to actually suggestion of what to do, right? So like freeze the account and so on. OFAC failure. Some of them we miss some documentation, some signatures. So there are multiple violations here. So like then ask like, okay, like actually show me the policy, right? So that's where you will go and tell you, okay, actually like this is the section 1 customer notification program. What is it about, and so on. So all the questions we can ask directly the Cortex Search. We can ask it there to the user, to the agent, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So you can see like there are various feedback also mechanism that you can use. So then you can review and usually all the systems. So like it's an iterative process. You want to involve the business user as soon as possible, so that you can build trust and yeah. Do you have any questions?
Jeremy, give you a break here to get a drink of water. Appreciate that. Yeah. So for the folks online, any questions, feel free to raise them in the chat or come off mute if you'd like to ask directly. But what Jeremy just showed you, right, is really what is now achievable, right, within Snowflake, is to be able to now create use cases, or now to create value for the organization in being able to combine structured and unstructured data. Being able to validate against your policies, new accounts opened, and there's probably a dozen others that look very similar to that. Again, assuming that there's access to the data and that semantic model is created, it is absolutely achievable to be able to create those types of results that we just looked at. So, even before that, right, was going through and looking at an analyst type of assistant behavior in asking your stakeholders, asking direct questions of your deposit data without needing to know SQL, right? And getting recommendations for ways to grow relationships and isolating different segments within your customer base. The opportunities here, and especially from an ROI or value creation, is to give your stakeholders the ability to get high value output in an assistant analyst type of sidecar writing with them without tying up your data team. So I take a bullish approach to this and say that this is going to change the BI paradigm, and for those that do it right, because I think that there is a number of ways to put some of the workload off of your data reporting and information and dashboarding teams, with a strategic and thoughtful approach to setting up Snowflake Intelligence and Cortex Analyst to be able to kind of generate those types of answers. So lots of ways to kind of show and demonstrate value, within your own four walls, in that crawl, walk, run approach that we just went through. Want to go to the next, Jeremy? So I definitely want to open it up for questions as well. Everybody loves the sales slide here at the end, so I'm not gonna push this too hard, but like we can help. Really depend, no matter where you are as part of this journey, and trying to leverage Snowflake Intelligence, or build a Snowflake, the Snowflake Foundation, with AI as a focus. We have a number of different ways we can tackle that with you, in conjunction with you, starting with a free consultation, right, and kind of understanding your readiness, going through your existing infrastructure and your pain points, and figuring out how you might start to tackle, creating value for your organization in that crawl, walk, run approach. So I'm going to stop there. We have 10 minutes left. I'd love to hear any questions or any thoughts or comments on the material that we just went through.